is.
It's Friday Eve, Thursday night for those who like to keep track of the days of the week, and we are back here live on a Thursday with our special guest. And if you're a Buccaneers fan, man, are you going to love this guy. On our network, over on Sports Radio 102.9 FM, The Game. Of course, you guys are listening on tonight, also over on AMP Radio, right here on broadcastsouth.com, and over on YouTube. So as I always say, 4 ways to listen and watch the show. But on our sports radio side, we have one of the better shows that you guys will ever listen to called The Aftermath. AJ and Coach Slick, those guys do an amazing job, very informative, have fun at the same time. If you guys not heard the intro music to it, I'm telling you, just like I do, you'll play it on repeat, you'll dance as much as I do to it, and then you'll tune into the show. And then about 10 seconds later, you'll go back and hear it again. But I've told that to AJ, I've said it to a couple of the guys over there in their studio and their staff, and it's a great time. Again, very, very informative. Dan Holmey, also with the Bucs Report, does a phenomenal job. And I will say by far, absolutely love that they're on sports radio because it's so much fun to hear their content. Whether it's a good game, bad game, and a different game, it doesn't matter. You're going to hear the analytics like you've never heard before. So if you want the best, I mean, yes, you can go obviously to Buccaneers.com, whatever the website is. You guys can go over there and you can listen to the cute stories over there. But if you guys want the hard impact from what they expect out of the Buccaneers, tune in to The Aftermath. You guys can go right to their website and take a look. You will not be disappointed. Obviously, if you have the app, when it comes on, whether it's a replay, I can put a replay on from a month ago, and it's just as great as the one I just recorded this past week. So don't take my word for it. AJ will come on. He'll tell you about it. And, of course, you guys know my co-host will be on the other side as well. So lots to get into tonight. Obviously, Kelce, K-Swift, I guess if you want to say it that way. You got K-Swift on the field tonight. He's playing on a broken ankle or not a broken ankle, excuse me, a twisted ankle. Let me get that right. A little bit twisted. It should be broken, but whatever's. Obviously, my co-host knows that I cannot stand the Chiefs. He knows why. He'll tell you all about it as well. And creeping up, I'll wait until I bring everybody on. But there's a little creep up on the shirt here that I'll let out momentarily as the Phillies are looking to close out. The Flyers are starting off their season tonight, so big expectation there. The Chicago Blackhawks, even though they're 1-1, have been hanging in there really well. And the Tampa Bay Lightning, of course, 1-0, getting ready to start their second game as well. So with that all being said, we will bring in now on the other side, not only my co-host there, Ryan F., but also AJ TurnUP from the Aftermath. See, he already flexed. That's it. Show's over. Thank you for playing, everybody. What's up, AJ?
No problem. What's up, guys? I appreciate you guys having me tonight, and it's always good to talk about football, but it's better to talk about Buck football.
I'm Ryan F. It's great to be with everybody today. You know, buys for the guys, tries for the girls. AJ's flexing the buys, so a lot to get into. Major League Baseball, NFL. AJ's the expert on the Bucs. I go way back farther on the Bucs than he does. But you know, we went over college football last night, all kinds of stuff to get into in this next hour. So let's get started, man.
We sure did. And by the way, as I said, something is creeping up. If I don't have to flex, but yes, it is back. The Flyers are back. And as I told everybody before, if the Flyers actually get their act together, I would put the shirt back on. And with Briere and Jonesy, to me, finally, they're getting their act together. So I'm glad to see that the Flyers are actually listening to the fan base and paying attention because they've needed to for many years. So Flyers again getting underway this evening. We'll get into a little bit of hockey later on. Obviously, again, the Lightning, big crowd on hand, sold out, 5-3 win, which is really good to see. Obviously, at the Amalie Arena, if you guys have never been to a Tampa Bay Lightning game, I will tell you this much. You will not go wrong when you see either if they're wearing their all whites, if they're wearing their blues, the sea of people to go into the Amalie Arena, by far, I will say, and again, love my Flyers, don't get me wrong, but there's nothing like the Amalie Arena. And I'll just leave that alone, only because obviously I might be a little biased here when it comes to Lightning, but whatever's. Anyways, Phillies last night overpowered the Braves 10-2, and I couldn't be any happier as they can close out the business tonight. And AJ, last night we had two shows. One, game started when Ryan was on the line of scrimmage. Then we had the Talking Hoops, and I was not more distracted than I was last evening when I'm watching on one screen of what's happening with the Phillies and then what was happening over here on our side of the house. But it's fun to be able to have you on here, number one, because you guys, like I told you before, you guys do a phenomenal job. I'm so happy you guys are on Sports Radio 102.9 FM. The Game. I really do appreciate it. I appreciate the mentions because you guys have fun with it, and that's all I expect is just for everybody to have fun. And
Oh
my
yeah.
host, not once, AJ, not once does he mention it on his show. Only in the closing segment when he's like, "Oh, let me throw him a bone here. I'll just put it up there." But that's okay. I'll get him straightened out. But nevertheless, so the creamsicle uniform, AJ, is coming back this weekend. How exciting is it? Obviously, for everyone who's going to be attending Ray J.
Oh, that's fun. Not only that, it's just it's coming back, but it's coming back when the team is coming back from the mediocrity of last season. So that's
Mhm.
always the good thing about this. When the Bucks are playing in this, because this should not just be a remnant of the sour past. I get it that the Bucks struggled a lot during this era, but at the same time, we also have to remember the Bucks also were very successful in that era. Their third year in '79, they got to the NFC championship with the great Leroy Selman and the great Doug Williams. It's just unfortunately after that it kind of goes downhill, but I'm very excited. I love this. These colors and creamsicles are dope for me. I love it. It's just and it's just Florida in general. That this is like Florida colors. Florida is not. Florida has all those vibrant colors: your orange, your lime green, your yellow. It's
Mhm.
highlight stuff. That is just Florida, baby. I tell people when Florida is not your typical like northern colors, like your black, your green. No, 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 no. We got to do all kind of flavors. That's why it's Florida flavors.
Yep, it's true. Lord knows we got enough colors down here. It's great because if you can come up from up north and just be coming out of a blizzard, and you come down here, you see all the colors. I mean, it's your whole world just changes. Your whole demeanor changes, and I think that's why I tend to make fun, obviously, of Florida fans because a lot of them, they're just, it's easy breeze. It's like, hey, did you watch the game? Maybe, but I know what the outcome is going to be. It's not like Philly, Philly, and Brian knows because he's from that neck of the woods, even though he's a KC fan. But yeah, it's just a whole different story. It's a whole different vibe. But down here, it's more chilled, more relaxed. Obviously, the college teams, I think, take a lot of precedence over as far as the NFL side of the house. But with the Bucks, I think Baker Mayfield obviously getting the starting job. You had talked about it, obviously, week one, and it's been mentioned that it could be in rumors that he could be vying for MVP, even though it's early on. But Baker has proven himself. We talked about it, I think, 2 weeks ago on your show as well. That it was again Kyle Trask. I get it. I understand it. He's the backup. I don't think there was going to be enough there to listen, wise guy. I don't know what you were doing there for a second, but either way, But Kyle Trask, I think, just didn't have enough as much as Baker Mayfield did. Baker's come in here. I think he's taking leadership and control of the locker room. It's not like he's a big time superstar, and I think most of the guys on the team is what they wanted. They had enough of Tom Brady. He won a Super Bowl. But it gets to a point too where you want someone on your level that understands like you guys are in the grind or in the hunt. And we talked about the defense. Obviously, Tampa Bay's defense is stellar. We did talk that in I think in good formidable fashion. And just so everybody knows, even though I am an Eagles fan, I even cited, I even said to AJ, it might have been, it could have been Tampa's game. Obviously, Philadelphia came out on top. But again, as we had mentioned, and we'll talk about it again tonight here, AJ, what is it with the red zone and the Buccaneers? They are just stopping everyone in the like they're making you earn between your 3 and 6 points.
Yeah, Bowles has he's a chess player, as Coach Slick would say, but he's also a bend that don't break. So he gets very aggressive in the red zone, and that's why it's very difficult. And with the personnel and talent we have, you have no choice. It's almost you have to be the elite offensive juggernaut to beat us in that red zone because you have Shaq Barrett that can get you. Vita Vea in the trenches alone, because in it's such a short field, if you don't have great receivers, it's going to be extremely difficult for your guys to get separation because that's where we typically play more man. So that's why the pressure. Now, if Bowles can establish that on the other end and stop always doing this kind of coverage, which not stand the cushion coverage syndrome. That's what I call it. It's CSS, no CCS, cushion coverage syndrome. Sometimes I think he doesn't. Bowles likes to figure out an offense and how it works. For me, I want to figure out. I want an offense to panic. So I want to dominate you first and then see what you can do and adjust. But that's why in the red zone, uh, the Bowles defense is stellar because he tightens up and he can send different kind of disguises and coverages where the offense think that they have something but they don't. So that's why. That's why Bowles is effective.
AJ, it's one thing to do it against the Vikings and the Bears and the Saints. This is going to be their first real test this weekend, other than the Eagles. We saw what happened with the Eagles. They came up against a fantastic defense. Baker's Baker. You know what you're going to get with him. If they really want to make a statement, let's throw the Eagles game out because other than the 49ers, it's the Eagles and the 49ers and then everybody else. I think if they can win this weekend at home against the Lions to go to 4-1, they'll sort of have a stranglehold on the division as far as that goes. What
Oh, no.
say you, my friend,
Oh no,
about
Ryan.
against the Lions?
Ryan, you are very correct. I want to just say this, and just before we get to that, for Baker. Now, Andrew, you were talking about possible MVP. That won't happen unless the Bucks beat the 49ers and Baker throws for 350 yards and 4 touchdowns. That's the only way he'll get mentioned in a breath of that. So maybe. But to your case, I like that you said that. Before we even go there, I'd like to give a big shout out to Detroit. They're coming out of mediocrity for once and actually consistently look good. But with that being said, who has Detroit truly beaten? I love that you said that, Ryan, because that's one thing I've been seeing all week. And then on my YouTube channel about Bucking Time, people are clowning me saying that, oh, Detroit is gonna just run away with this. They're gonna just mop the Bucks up with the floor. They're gonna beat them. I say you to this. Who has the Detroit Lions truly played that we can brag about? The Chiefs, they beat them by 1 point, 21-20. Now, mind you, Chris Jones was not playing that game. Kelce was not playing that game. Those two play. Detroit doesn't win. They lost to the Seahawks. The Seahawks are so-so. Falcons, they're not a good team. They just have a good run game for right now. The Packers, they're not a good team. They're an okay team. The Panthers, do I need to finish? I like this. This is why I was telling people I think the Buccaneers are going to surprise and shock Detroit far more than what the other way around. They have yet to play a defense like Todd Bowles. They have yet to play a Buccaneers defense with this personnel. I was trying to explain to people with Canty coming back, I think they're not. I don't think Detroit is ready for that speed rush that Canty is going to do because then Vita, the game is going to be won in the trenches. Detroit has a good line, but if I'm Detroit, they're gonna try to do is replicate what the Eagles did to the Bucks. But Detroit line, they're good. They're not Eagles good. They also don't have. I like Goff, but Goff is not Hurts. They don't have an AJ Brown. They don't have a Devontae Smith. I want to ask you this. Do you even know the starting receivers for the Lions, and are they Mike Evans or Godwin good?
Well, I mean, if St. Brown comes back, we still you still don't know if St. Brown's going to come back. They got Reynolds. Um, I'm trying to think of the others on the Lions.
But you're proving my point. Those are not standout talent. That's why I was telling people the Bucks defense is designed to make stops for Detroit. I like Montgomery. He's a good running back, but he's not swift. He's not swift. So the key to the Bucks, honestly, this is the game where they need to be aggressive. You want to be aggressive. You want to make Golf panic because if people go back and watch that Panthers game, he wasn't the best overall. He didn't play at the top of his game. He was making errors, and he is suspect against blitzes and pressure. And this is where I said that Winfield is going to have another breakout game where I said he'll get a interception or pick six and a sack. Detroit is good, but I think that They have just become the social media and sports media darlings because of who they are. And of course, they're not going to give the Bucks any props just yet. But yes, you're right. The Bucks beat the Detroit Lions. You're basically, like you said, we know Eagles and the 49ers are the top tier dogs of the NFC. Detroit is underneath. The Bucks beat Detroit, and if they give them a good beating, now you have to take the Buccaneers serious. So with that being said, I think Detroit has a lot more to prove than the Bucks, because I say this again. I Detroit is, I don't think they are ready to, they have yet to face a defense like the Bucks. The Chiefs are not the Bucks defense. Seahawks, definitely not. Falcons, definitely not. Packers, no. Panthers, hell no. So I say to you this: the Bucks defense, if they come out aggressive early and Detroit is down 14-0, let's say mid first quarter, it's gonna get ugly for Detroit. Mark my
My
words.
only concern is that quarterback for the Buccaneers. If he plays like he did against the Eagles, against the Lions, the
Mhm.
Buccaneers will not win a football game. And I've said it time and time again. You never know which Baker you're going to get. If Baker doesn't turn the ball over, yes, his team will be in the game till the fourth quarter with a possibility of winning it. If he struggles, and we know he struggled in the past, if he performs against the Lions like he did against the Eagles, it's going to be a long night.
Oh, you're absolutely right. The difference, I think, this time, I keep telling people, especially Detroit fans, Detroit, you are a good team, but you're not Philadelphia yet.
Nope.
Y'all are good, but you're not in that same air. Their line is nowhere near as good. Defensive line is nowhere near as good as the Eagles. The Eagles were just, here's the thing. The biggest reason the Bucks lost to the Eagles was, one, they were out coached in all categories, offensively and defensively. And like you said, Baker, when he started to get the hero complex, that's when he made errors. But I tell people, if you go back and watch that game, Hurst didn't dominate the Bucks. Swift did. The defense. But let's get back to Detroit. Detroit is a good team, and you're right. But Baker, I honestly think Canales this week off is a blessing, because now I think this offense will be a little more polished. They're not going to be juggernauts yet, because I don't see the Bucks offense being like consistently above average to great until week 10 or 11. But Detroit does not have a lot of film to guess out the Bucks offense. We're still very fresh and unpredictable, and I don't think Baker is going to have to do much, especially if the run game can be average, this will be a long game for Detroit. I say that because the Bucks are Canales has designed this offense to bleed out Detroit. Their biggest pass rusher is that guy on Detroit, but I have a lot of confidence in Gedke and Wirfs. And again, I think don't be surprised if Canales puts in at least 3 to 5 plays that are spicy, that will take the Detroit Lions off guard. I think Detroit is going to come in very pumped up, but I think they're going to. I'm not going to say the word underestimate the Bucks, but they're going to come in and overestimate themselves. Detroit is flying high right now because of the love that they're getting, but again, they haven't faced a team like the Bucks.
Angel?
I'm responding back to one Keith to make sure that everything was good. But no, listen, I think obviously you're making great points about Detroit. Detroit is definitely not anywhere where the Eagles are, and yes, they were against the Bucks. They were out coached. No matter which way you look at it, it looked like for a while, obviously, that it could have been a possibility that you guys were going to end up coming back, and then come the fourth, the Eagles just ate up that clock, and they continue to do it week in and week out. Now they're calling, of course, that front line the brotherly push that no other team can even keep up with what, as far as what the Eagles are doing. But I want to fast forward to 5 games here, though, AJ, for a moment. Let's just say, for all hypothetical intents purposes, that San Fran remains undefeated up until that point when they meet the Bucks in San Fran. Let's also just say, hypothetically, that the Buccaneers give them that first loss. You and I talked about Canales, a couple of weeks ago, and we talked about how, yes, he's obviously the OC, but he could end up taking over an HC job if it gets to that point. And I'm not even going to talk about the win-loss record for you guys at that point, but let's just fast forwarding 5 games from now. They're undefeated. You guys are the first ones to put the L in that column. Does that then put Canales in a whole different spectrum? And then do teams start looking at Canales like, you know what? The Buccaneers did something well by stealing him from another team. What do we need to do to get Canales' services?
Oh, absolutely. I'll say this. I'll go even further. Let's say the Bucks, by the time they get to San Fran, they've only lost 1 to 2 games, and this is going to be. It depends on how the Bucks win. If the Bucks win that game against the Niners just by the defense, no, it won't. It's going to depend on how this offense performs. Let's say again, if Baker throws for 320 something yards of 340, he throws 3 touchdowns, maybe 1 pick, and the Bucks offense is the sole reason why they win that game, absolutely. I put it this way. If the Bucks beat the 49ers by that time and they were still in the field, the Bucks are the best team in the NFL after that. You cannot deny that. You wouldn't be able to. If that Bucks team hands 49ers their first loss and it's because of the offense, now if anything, that's going to be one scary ass team. And why I say that, everybody knows, if you have common sense, the Bucks defense right now is the heart and soul of the team. They are responsible for helping this offense. By then, that's interesting that you bring that up, Angel, because the Bucks offense should be in full swing by the time they play the 49ers. That's week 11. So if anything, and I know that people are high on the 49ers. Yes, as a collective unit, that's the best team. But I'll take Mike Evans over Deebo Samuel. I'll take Chris Godwin over Ayuk at this moment. The biggest thing that they have that the Bucks don't have just yet is an elite tight end, an elite running back, and their line is going to be better. But let's hold the phone on that too. Wirfs is playing just as good as Trent Edwards. Now, he's not Trent Edwards just yet,
Right.
so I won't even go there. He ain't Trent Edwards yet, but he'll get there. Wirfs has so much upside. But you are absolutely right. If the Bucks handle that loss to the 49ers and the offense is the reason, oh yeah, Canales is getting offers left and right, left and right. They're gonna say, hey, put it this way. I think if he beats the 49ers with the offense, he's gone. That's almost a clear thing that Canales will be gone after the season. So you're right. Now, I'm hoping now. I'm speaking that into existence, but
Right.
we got too much football left. Right now, the Bucks do not stand a chance against the 49ers, but right now, they don't stand a chance. No. Too good. They're way too good.
Ryan. Oh, the hat's coming off. Oh, here comes the business. Go ahead.
What happens if Mike Evans doesn't play this weekend?
Mike Evans doesn't play this weekend, the game will be a lot closer. But this is where Canales, his coaching skills should come in. You still have way too many. The Bucks receiving core and weapons are still too valuable. Godwin can get it done in the short mid range. Palmer, utilize his speed. You have Otten. You still have a lot of weapons, and Tompkins is good at the short. So the Bucks still, when it comes to the passing, receiving core, they still have a good amount of talent to handle Detroit. Now, to be honest, though, this is where I do want the Bucks run game to get better because we don't want to rely on Baker all the time. But here's the thing. Baker has not been messing up like old Baker has, and he's good at scrambling. That's another thing that makes him very dangerous. If he scrambles for a few first down, now Detroit's defense is going to have to honor that, and they might have to load the box. And with a guy like Palmer with his speed, or that's what I'm saying. I like Detroit's defense too, but who else on Detroit's defense besides their pass rusher are you really scared of? We have to be honest.
Nobody really.
Go ahead, Angel.
Nobody really, as far as on the Lions side. But it's amazing to me where the Bucks are at this point, even with Baker Mayfield. And he's been a lot of talk as of late, obviously. And when you just talked about now, as far as scrambling, I think the bigger takeaways that most of the broadcasters and analysts are talking about, how much he scrambled more. And I think there's also a sense of confidence. Obviously, we've seen him in the commercials. He had fun out there in Cleveland with the commercials. It's a whole different story. But I think even his demeanor has changed being here with the Bucks. He knows. It's a one-year tryout, no matter which way you look at it. I think he's got many years left. You and I discussed as well. I think after this year, there should be at least talks. somewhere towards the mid part of the season, take a look and seeing, how the first quarter went, which so far for the Bucs, it went really well. Now you're coming into the second quarter of the season, and you have to start looking like, is Baker our future? Because you're not going to spend a whole lot of money, which is a great thing. And you still got holes to fill, including Mike Evans, just saying. But you guys have there's holes to fill where you won't have to worry about like just getting capped out if you have to make a big contract. I don't think Baker too, because you can fill them up with incentives that it doesn't add towards the cap. But I think with Baker Mayfield, you're looking at a much different quarterback that you even saw. I know LA, he was a borrowed template for the moment because obviously they had so many injuries, but he looks different. His demeanor is different. I think he has a lot more confidence. And I think it's mostly, and again, everybody knows I'm an Eagles fan, but when it comes down to the Buccaneers, there's just that team unity they have over there where they don't leave not one man behind. And I think that's kind of helped out Baker saying, listen, we're here to support you. Obviously, you're here to support us. You are the leader of this team. You tell us exactly what to do, and we're going to follow. So it's leaders following leaders. It's not leaders following followers. And I think that's what resonates a lot this year with Baker Mayfield, and it shows in his gameplay. I mean, you can just see it. You also see the frustrations when he knows something didn't go well. Those are small things that you may have seen in Cleveland, but now it's just he knows this could be his team of the future, and he's trying to lock it in. And if I'm looking again so far early off in the season, I'm saying, okay, how much can we get him for? Again, we have other needs, but how much can we secure him for? So if I'm going to put you in a GM spot there, AJ, for a second. You are now the GM. You're talking to his agent. You know your top priority is Mike Evans. That's priority number one. But when you're looking back and saying, all right, you know what, I think Baker should remain as a Buccaneer. How much is it going to cost? What do you think would be a fair offer for Baker Mayfield? Let's just go for the next 3 seasons.
That's a tough one. Just because I'm hoping it all just depends on how the Bucks as a whole on offense performs and who is the true star. Because we also have to remember Baker is coming into a very blessed situation with all these weapons, so he doesn't have to work as hard. Baker doesn't have to perform where he has to win games solely on his arm. You have Mike Evans, you have Godwin, and then you have Palmer, who we see right now has the potential to be the next big thing. You have Otten. It's I'll tell you this: if the Bucks get to the playoffs with a 10 or to 11 win record, and he gets us through the first round of the playoffs, we win that, and then we lose the next round. And let's say at the end of the season, he has 4,000 yards, 29 touchdowns, and 7 interceptions. Now, but Mike Evans has 1,300 yards and 12 touchdowns. Godwin has 1,000 yards and 7 touchdowns. Now, depending on how that goes, I would be fair and try to give him something reasonable and moderate, just because I'd say, hey, Baker, you like Tristan Wirfs blocking for you? Hey, Baker, you like Mike Evans being here? Hey, Baker, you like Antoine Winfield and Vita Vea and these guys dominating for you? Because it's not just Evans. Wirfs and Winfield are the future. So that's where I know he might not like it, but he could maybe between 15 million a year, but like you said, incentives that doesn't go against the cap. But we have to be in all honesty, somebody on the team is going to have to make that sacrifice and say, hey, I'm going to take a hit, so this is better for the team, because there's no way the Bucks can afford Baker, Evans, Winfield, and Wirfs,
Right.
and then Devin White. And
That's
Devin
true. I
White's
forgot about
having a good season so far. So it's just too much money. It's too much. It's so much talent, but not enough money to go around. So somebody is gonna have to be fair and take that cost. Now, right now, even still, I would say Devin is gonna have to make that sacrifice, because Winfield and Wirfs, their ceiling is just much higher. As I said, if Baker can get 4,000 yards, 27 touchdowns, or knowing him, but the way that this offense is going, he has 7 already. I could see him getting in the 30s is not out of the question anymore. So if he does that, if he gets us 35 touchdowns and he keeps it under 10 interceptions, then we might have to raise it up to 17, 18 million a year. That's just that's just the beast of the business. So either way, somebody's going to have to take a nice little pay cut.
All
See,
right, Ryan.
I think they're both gone after the end of the year. I think Evans sees the writing on the wall. He don't, I don't. He doesn't want to be there. I know he's playing without he's hasn't signed on the dotted line. He's playing through the contract dispute. This is an audition for Baker. This is a one-stop audition for Baker Mayfield, as far as I see it. And I'm just going to say, at some point, AJ, Baker's going to be Baker. There's going to be a 2 or 3 game stretch where Baker reverts back to Baker. It just happens. Much in the same way with Dak Prescott. Oh, I got to stop with the interceptions. I got to stop doing this. I got to stop doing that. And guess what? They always revert back to what they were doing. So it'll be interesting to see for me as the season goes on.
Yes.
Let's say they get tattooed by the Lions.
Yes.
Let's say the Lions dominate them the way that the Eagles did.
Yes.
Is Baker Mayfield's leash get shorter?
It depends, because we also have to realize the Bucks defense in the end failed as well. 9 minutes of chewing the clock that the Eagles did, that is unacceptable and inexcusable. And that was a bad coaching game from Bowles' perspective. There was no reason on third downs that you have all this kind of coverage out there, knowing that they're going to run the rock to bleed the clock. So with that being said, and I disagree with the Baker comments. I think, you know what? The problem is we're so busy looking at him in the past when we're not realizing coaching was behind his errors too. Cleveland Browns did not do they did him dirty. They were so focused on bringing in overhyped players, and then the coach was in over his head, so that messed him up. First for them, for the most part, we have to realize coaches can make and break players' careers. I don't think he's going to revert back to that, because I think Baker is mature enough and realize also I have Mike Evans, I have Godwin, I have a plethora of offensive weapons now, and he has a defense that can bail him out. He didn't have that in Cleveland. I know people talk about Myles Garrett. That's cool, but Myles Garrett is only one man. You got Winfield, Levante, Devin White. You got Vita Vea, Shaq Barrett, Carlton Davis, and Dean on that. He ain't gonna get no better than this. So I think Baker wants to stay, and I think Evans wants to stay. And here's why: if the Bucks get into the playoffs, let's say they run a deep playoffs, let's say hypothetically they get to the NFC title, why would Evans want to go anywhere with that? If he gets another 1,000-yard season, they have the potential to be Super Bowl contenders next season. He wants to get Evans at this point now where he wants to get his stats, not just selfishly, but him getting another ring or getting to another playoff push. That gets him in the playoff. I mean, in the Hall of Fame. So I think the difference is this team now is more for team and not for, I won't say self ego, but last year I think they were lost due to the fact that Brady had his off the field issues. Players didn't know what they were doing, and besides, Bowles wants to keep these players because his job's on the line. That's why Trask isn't starting. Trask is not good enough for him to keep his job, because now they're saying, Bowles, you got your offensive guy now. You got your coordinator. You got your players. It's up to you. And Baker has Canales. Canales is not going to let him fail. Just look at the progression that Geno Smith had all last season. But imagine this. He's Geno, but he's Geno with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin. I like Metcalf, but Metcalf ain't there yet. So that's why I'm saying the Bucks they're gonna have a lot of hard decisions, but I think Baker knows that this is his last hope, because if you can't make it work with Evans and Godwin, they're gonna say, well, where else you gonna go? And you're in a sorry division.
Yeah, no, that's true. As we pass here at the top of the hour, in case you are tuning in just now, we thank you for listening in on Sports Radio 102.9 The Game, also right here on BroadSTSouth.com, over on YouTube, and thanks to people as well from Twitch who are tuning in. I do appreciate the support from the followers over at Twitch. Thank you so much for tuning in. And Dylan comes in with a question here. Dylan, great friend of mine, great friend of the show, has always been on multiple times. He says, I know Antonio Brown was a problem child, but if Brown panned out in terms of the off-field issues, would that have changed the wide receiver situation in terms of who stays, Godwin or Evans? That's a good question.
No, it doesn't change at all because Brown got open because of Evans and Godwin. I think people don't realize that AB did his thing solely because, for the most part, Evans and Godwin's presence was just overwhelming. I think people don't realize AB is a much older than those guys. You know,
Mm-hmm.
AB is like 33, Godwin is in his mid 20s, and Mike Evans just turned 30. So I think the people don't realize that, with the Brown situation, we were good with or without him. When we went to the Super Bowl during the playoffs, AB was hardly anywhere to be found. Evans and Godwin made it happen. I think a lot of people are just stuck on that because of AB, of his personality and who he was in the past. AB still was producing, but if AB had to do it by himself, how many games did AB truly take over when Evans or Godwin was out? We have to go back and check that. That's all
Yeah.
I'm.
Yeah, so true. So before Ryan end up chiming in here, but before, and also as we're going to get to the rest of the NFL schedule here, uh, I don't think I will agree. I don't think Evans is. I think he's very much wanting to be here with the Bucks. I don't think it's a trial thing. I don't think he's just doing it to appease the fans. Obviously, if you want to do that, you can do it like everybody else. And you just sit out, and do like everybody. Do the whole diva thing and just wait until no, look for me, pay me, blah blah blah. It's showing within his character that he really wants to be here, and I believe so. Obviously, the fans here in Tampa absolutely love him. Um, Management loves him. Obviously, the ownership loves him as well. We've seen him make mistakes before in the past. I think it's just one of those things that we're going to have like a closed door meeting somewhere and just sit down and put everything on the table and figure out, okay, we have wants and needs. How much do we need Mike Evans and at what cost? So I'll leave that there. But before we get into the NFL schedule, we also have a quick moment here with the WNBA as you have the Las Vegas Aces now up 2-0 on the Liberty. And Ryan, I'll go to you for this one to see, do the Aces repeat as champions, or is it over, or excuse me, does New York Liberty at least win one before the series is over?
I mean, nothing's showing me or indicating to me that the Aces aren't going to sweep them. So the Liberty would have had to make it 1-1 for them to have a chance. Now, everything is possible. Nothing ever surprises me anymore. But the Aces have been dominant all year. Yes, the Liberty have been too. But the Aces, that organization, they just seem to have something going. Up 2-0. I think the Liberty, they're going to throw out the kitchen sink. And I just don't see that the Liberty has any answer for what Las Vegas is doing. So, I just fully expect the Liberty to go down with a fight. But hell, I thought the Dodgers were going to take the Diamondbacks. You know what I mean? So nothing will surprise me, but I just don't see it.
Yeah, good team stay on top. You got to be the team. You got to be a good team early in the series, especially in ball to last. Otherwise, if you go up 2-0, that's a very hard mountain to climb.
It is. And you also look at it too, AJ. If you're comparing now the cities here, Tampa Bay, obviously Tampa, Florida, and Las Vegas, it started with the Lightning winning the Stanley Cup, followed by winning the Super Bowl with the Bucks. Rays close ALCS champs. Couldn't get it done, and that was Kevin Cash's fault that season for doing what he did and pulling who he pulled to lose that series. And then obviously the Lightning go back and win the back-to-back Stanley Cup. So if you're in Las Vegas, you got to think about it. It obviously started with the Aces, the Golden Knights win the Stanley Cup. Now your Aces again. So that winning feeling, and for those who don't know, even though yes, I moved down here when the first cup came around, it is something completely different when people still call this city Tampa Bay. And in the beginning, it was like, come on, these guys, are you freaking kidding me? But that euphoria that you get because you start feeling like you walk around with your chest out a little bit more, like, yeah, okay, y'all want to be the best, you got to come down here and beat the best. And I think that's the way that the Aces are feeling at this point. And I don't see them losing to Liberty as well. And then Ryan, getting back to you as far as the Dodgers, I'm so happy that they're done because I can't stand the Dodgers as much as I can't stand the stupid Yankees. I can't stand them either. So, and they were done when the season started, which is great because I can rub it into my sister's face how much of a Yankees fan she is. But No, Dodgers obviously eliminated by Arizona. Arizona now in there since what? It's been 16 years. The last time they were in there, 2007, when they were in the series. So looking at it as well, because then you also have Houston, who's starting to get kind of irritable. But Houston back in there in the ALCS for the 7th year in a row, which is, say what you want. People said there was a whole cheat factor last year. Whatever the case may be, to go there 7 years in a row, the last people that did that were the Atlanta Braves, as far as on the NL side, obviously not on the AL side. So it's a monumental feat, obviously taking the Texas Rangers. I don't think, though, Ryan, I don't think Houston passes the Rangers. I think Bruce Bochy has a little more under his sleeve than what Dusty Baker has.
Well, I mean, I had Texas and San Diego in the World Series this year, so one of my teams is still alive. San Diego kind of, all those egos, you can't make all those egos come together. So, look, Houston's been flying under the radar all year long. People have been talking about the Orioles, the Braves, the Dodgers, but here the Astros are yet again, and they just continue to do their thing. And people want to talk about the cheating thing. That was a long time ago now, and as far as baseball, different players, different coaches. If people want to keep bringing it up, then that's their prerogative. But I think, again, I picked Texas to make it on the American League side, but Houston, I'll tell you, man, they just find different ways to get it done. So I'll pick Texas in the series in 7 games. But it's not going to surprise me if Houston wins the series. So, and I would like to see like the Rangers win the World Series. It'd be, something different. You know what I mean? So, but again, it just Houston's they always seem to be there in the end, no matter what year it's been for the last 8 years.
Yeah. I will say this much as far as with the Rangers. If the Phillies don't make it, would I love to see the Rangers win the World Series? I would. I will back you up on that one. If it comes down to the Phillies Rangers, obviously I'm not picking the Rangers. It would be the Phillies. Then you also would have the intriguing thing, I think, would be a rematch from last year's World Series between the Astros and the Phillies. Because obviously the Phillies they made it to the World Series. No one expected, not even Vegas. I think Vegas was more stunned than anybody else because the odds weren't even in the favor for the Phillies to be able to make it to the World Series. And they made that magical run. Didn't, obviously play out too well, but the last time we were there, 2007, we made it to the series. 2008, we win the series. Here we are once again, where we made it last year in 22. We're back there in 23. Hopefully, they have to win it tonight to get to the NLCS and then keep going from there. Listen, you can scratch them. We will wobble your head there, mister. I'm sorry. Let me go back to this one. Where's your Pirates?
Look, the Pirates have been eliminated in the preseason for the last 30 years. It doesn't matter. As preseason, then you get to April 1st, they're already automatically eliminated. So that's just what Pirates fans go through. We are a farm team. We are a AAA farm team for the rest of the Major League Baseball teams. That's all we are.
All right. Well, good points. Dylan says the Diamondbacks are the 2022 Phillies of the season. The way they are, as far as the way they are hot right now. And yeah, I mean, I would have to agree, Dylan. It's again, you never know. Look at the teams who, again, Dodgers, over 100 wins. Where'd you find yourselves? Oh yeah. Orioles, where do you find yourself? Out, eliminated. It's just the way it works. Baseball, I mean, it's grueling. 162 games, and then you make it to the postseason, and then you choke. And that's where they are at this point.
Yeah, that's
but here's the thing, Angel.
Yes.
The regular season, and AJ knows this. You play the regular season to position yourself the best you can going into the playoffs. Once the regular season's over, throw out the records because you'll wipe the slate clean.
Oh yeah.
Just like in hockey, you can wipe the regular season clean when you get to the playoffs. Whoever's healthy, whoever has a goalie standing on their head, they go deep into the playoffs. Yep. Baltimore was new to them. Atlanta, I think, took the Phillies a little bit too lightly. The Dodgers do Dodger-type things anyway. This is just what they do. Clayton Kershaw, fantastic regular season pitcher. You get him to the postseason, eh, so it just like with college basketball,
Yeah.
you play the regular season to position yourself in the seeding for the tournament. But once you get to the tournament, it's zero. You have a 0-0 record once you get to postseason.
Yeah.
0-0. So
Yeah. Oh, I agree. And sometimes you have to be careful on how much you put into it because there are a lot of good teams that burn themselves out by the time the regular season's over, and then you did all that just to get beat in the first round of the playoffs or get humiliated. I tell you, because that kind of reminds me of the Lakers in the early 2000s. They didn't always have the best record, but when they got to the playoffs, Shaq and Kobe dominated.
Yeah.
You just, unless you have what you already know, if you know you have a dynasty team, then you can go all out either way. Like the 96 Bulls, 72-10. But we knew who was on that team. They were great. They were going to win regardless. They're just certain. Everybody wants to be that team where you go, okay, you knew they were just going to win it all. Just look how good they were. But that's very rare. But you're right. When the playoffs come for baseball, 160 something games. Good God.
Mm-hmm.
you talking basketball. The Warriors went 73-9. Then they lost to the Cavaliers in the finals.
Yep.
So again, it just doesn't. Regular season success doesn't always equate to postseason success. It
Right.
just doesn't.
Not
And I
at
go
all.
back to the 2007, 2008 New York Giants. They were mediocre during the regular season, but they got healthy. The defense was dominant. Eli wasn't turning the ball over. They got on a run. Nobody expected them to have a chance against the Patriots. Nobody. And look what happened.
Yep.
Yep. It's
That,
true.
my,
Take a look. Well,
that's
look
it.
at Mookie Betts. Mookie
Yep.
Betts was batting what, close to 3 during the regular season. Playoffs came around, .093. You talk about a drop off. Now, if me, let's just say I came into the league 2 years ago, right? And I'm just Joe average. Throughout the regular season, maybe the first season, obviously we didn't make it, plagued by injuries, whatever the case may be. Now, let's say season 2, we happen to make it into the series, and let's say I was just batting mediocre, 101 on the average, maybe 29 extra base hits, 4 home runs and 4 doubles. Postseason turns around. Now I'm knocking out the park. I'm batting 350. I have 4 home runs and 7 RBIs. All I'm saying at the end, with if I'm the one winning the World Series and people say, "Where were you during the regular season?" The only thing I would just walk up to them and be like, "It's about the postseason," and that's it, and just walk away because it's exactly it. We look at the NFL schedule. The same. You can have a wild card team to come in,
Yes.
and then that wild card team could take that run and end up winning the Super Bowl. You could have had just a mediocre type season, and we all know it happens. Same way NBA, same way in hockey. It happens, and that's what we all look forward to. So yeah, it's a long grind in the season in baseball. A lot of us love it. Obviously my fiance and I are super fans as far as when it comes to baseball. We go to a lot of Rays games out here in the Threshers, but I mean, I'm just hoping the Phillies can close it out and move on because I cannot. It drives me nuts, that stupid chant. Oh, it's so irritating. I can't stand it. I hate hearing that chant. I'm sorry. The goofballs known as Kansas City Chiefs, they do it too. I cannot stand that stupid chant, but whatever's. I
Oh
guess
yeah.
it's one of the things.
Well, I feel like that champ belongs to Florida State, but that's just me. But I'm glad you mentioned the Chiefs because they're this team right now where they're still kind of coasting off of last season. And I get it. Mahomes is playing out of his mind. He's doing a good job. He's using what he can. But I'm not impressed either. I feel like for them, if they don't get it together and they need
Mhm.
another offensive weapon bad, it's going to catch up to them, especially during the postseason. I think Kelce he's going through what Gronk went through when he was with the Patriots, and we all know what I'm talking about. Those injuries are starting to take a toll.
Yep.
And remember, Kelce is not a blocking guy. So for him, if he starts to lose a step, it's going to get sadder faster for him. This is why I always said Kittle was better because Kittle could do both. Kittle just couldn't stay healthy for a little bit, but we see how effective a healthy Kittle is. I know people would disagree, but I always thought Kittle was better than Kelce. Kelce just happens to have Mahomes throwing him the ball. He. So I like tonight. If the Chiefs cannot beat Denver, then there's a problem. Denver's not good defensively at this time. Russell Wilson is okay, but the Chiefs should beat them. But I wouldn't be surprised if the Chiefs lay an egg tonight.
Hey, they're 4-1, and a W is a W. They could be 5-0 if they would have had like Jones and Kelce that first game against the Lions. But I said all off season long, and Angel knows this. They don't have a complimentary receiver to go along with what Kelce does. They don't have a true number one. Do they have serviceable wide receivers? Yeah, but
Right.
nothing that leaps off the page.
Right.
That says this guy's going to hurt us or this guy's going to hurt us. They don't have the Tyreek Hill replacement.
No.
They thought Sky Moore might be that guy, but he's not really panned out. The kid Rice, that's the rookie, he shows flashes, but they just don't. And I said in preseason, the defense this year is going to have to carry this football team.
Oh,
they're not going to have the offensive explosion in games that they did like last year. Yeah, they did against the Bears, but it was the Bears this year. But they just don't. And I'm still sort of, they put it together against the Bears, but we all know what the Bears are. So I want to see it against like decent competition. And it worries me. Do I think they're going to repeat as Super Bowl champions? No. Do I think they're still going to win the AFC West? Yes. Because the Raiders stink, the Broncos stink, and the Chargers are the Chargers. The Chargers will be like 9-8 this year. And we really don't know what the Chargers are. Austin Eckler hasn't been around. Yeah. So do I think the Chiefs will win the division with like maybe an 11-6, 12-5-ish record somewhere in there? Yes. They'll win the division. They'll get into the playoffs. But, AJ, it's like I said last year, if the Buffalo-Cincinnati thing with DeMar Hamlin didn't happen last year and Cincinnati wins that football game, Cincinnati would have had home field advantage. Yeah. And I don't think Kansas City would have been able to go on the road in Cincinnati with the way they were playing and beat them on Cincinnati's home field.
I agree. You are absolutely correct. Like I said, last year we did finally get to see Mahomes he played a true quarterback where he was, he had Brady-esque things, trying to deliver the ball to anybody, trying to bring the best out of his players. But you're right, this season it's going to catch up. They don't have enough in the arsenal. And I don't even think defensively, I think Spagnolia's scheme is okay, but you can beat that. And Chris Jones can't do it by himself. You are right. I wouldn't be surprised, despite with Miami, the Dolphins, the Bills, there's too many other teams in the AFC when they get to the playoffs can turn it on, and that they don't get through it. So you're right. It is kind of shocking that the AFC hasn't been as dominant as people thought it was going to be. We were all thinking, hell, I thought the first 3 weeks, the only reason the AFC wouldn't be defeated is if they didn't play the NFC, but that's why I love the NFL. Really, right now, the powerhouses are the NFC, the 49ers, the Eagles, Detroit. You got to throw in the Bucs. You have to throw in the Bucs. Dallas, they're showing you who they are, but, still. And, I do like that. But you're right. When it comes to the Chiefs, right now, I don't see it. The teams that on the AFC that gives me cause, maybe, to be quite honest, I haven't really seen an AFC team that worries me like Eagles or the Niners. How do y'all feel about it? Have you seen anybody in the AFC that makes you say these are the Eagles and the Niners?
I'm still not going to count the Bengals out.
Wait, Chief. If you're not going to count them out, is that Joey Burrow healthy? Joey Burrow banged up?
The calf is what it is. Unless they sit him for a month, but you rest him for a month and maybe you're 500 and then you bring him back. A calf strain is a hell of a thing. It's hard to get rid of.
Right.
Even if you rest it for a month, as soon as you go into physical activity, especially a game, you're always going to run the risk of re-aggravating the calf strain. So he's not going to sit. unless the guy breaks his leg or something, they're not going to be able to pull him out of the game. I just think there's too much talent for the Bengals. I don't know what their record is now. What are they, 2-3 or something like that? They have too much talent on the defense side of the ball. There's too much talent on the offensive side of the ball. I think Jamar Chase coming out and saying,
I'm always
what he said, I think lit a fire under the team. And I still think that Cincinnati is going to go on a run here and win like 5 or 6 in a row. I'm still not going to count them out. I just think they're too tough.
Fair enough.
It's almost like the same way, but I mean, if you're going to take that route, you look at Miami. Miami may not be Eagles-esque, but somehow or another they're pulling off the wins. They're able to do it at 4-1 at this point. Mind you, obviously, a healthy Tua. Everybody knows he is one hit from being a can of soup. One hit. It is what it is, but it's just one hit away from it being that. And it's not to sound mean or anything else like that, but it's true. It's the
reality.
vegetable soup. It's there. So we hope it doesn't get to that point, but it could be. But Miami could be one of those teams. It also can end up getting there. Now, D'Amico Ryans, again, looking over on the Texans side, has been trying to get this team going in that right direction. You got CJ Stroud, 162 pass attempts so far with 0 interceptions. So don't, we can't put Houston in the same talk, but looking at Houston, D'Amico Ryans, they're starting to head in the right direction. So, I mean, a lot can happen during the NFL season. We see it's happening now. It's just wanting who wants it worse. And then you figure we got, about 4 minutes here? I'm going to take, I guess, 3 games. Ryan, you have your pad ready there, mister?
Sure.
All righty. So let's go with, we'll skip Denver, KC. We already know which team is probably going to win that one. Let's take Washington and Atlanta. Washington 2-3, Atlanta 3-2. Atlanta coming off a win. I'll start with you, AJ.
Washington will get the win just because they have the front four to stop Atlanta. If Atlanta relies on the run too much, they're going to lose, and Ritter is not the guy, obviously.
All right. Ryan?
I'm going the other way. I think Washington's got issues. I don't think they know who they are. I don't trust the quarterback at all. Desmond Ritter is a decent quarterback for the Falcons. I think they'll try and ground and pound it and play solid defense. This is going to be one of those 23-20 type games where it's a grind.
So, well, did Ron Rivera come out and do one of Dennis Cook when we thought who they thought we were, and we let him off the hook? So
that's not how Ron Rivera is.
All right. Hey, listen, I was just throwing it out there in case, he decided he wanted to do so. But all right. So next one would end up being let's take just for giggles, but let's go San Fran, Cleveland. Cleveland obviously 2-2. San Fran still undefeated. Ryan.
Deshaun Watson, we don't know if he's going to play this week. There seems to be a little bit of inside turmoil with this team. There's a lot of teammates that are pissed off that he was cleared to play a couple weeks ago and he did not play. San Francisco all day. Cleveland's not even going to get close.
San Fran's going to smoke them. The spirit of the Browns went out when Chubb went out.
Yeah,
they're not going to recover from that.
Yeah, no. Yeah. Same way here, San Fran. So that's clean across the board. And because of our guest tonight, Tampa Bay, Detroit, AJ.
I said this, hot take. The Bucs are going to overwhelm them and smack them 31-10. Detroit is not going to be ready. I think the offense on the Bucs are going to do a lot better than what people think. So that's why I say that. I think both sides of the ball are going to play at a level where Detroit is just going to be, whoa, we did not expect that.
All right, Brian?
I'll tell you what. Detroit's got to go outside in the humidity. If St. Brown plays, they stand a chance. I'm still worried about Baker, but because my man AJ is on here, it's going to be close. Close. I think Buccaneers kick a late field goal. 27-24 Buccaneers.
All right. Well, let me burst your bubble there for a second because it's not going to be humid on Sunday because we're expecting a cooler front to come through on Saturday. So it's
still outside. Detroit doesn't play well outside.
No, yeah, it is. The only thing I'm worried about though is because USF plays FAU on Saturday, and it's supposed to be a sloppy mess on Saturday. If the weather comes through, listen, you can play the violin all you want to. I'm just telling you, it could, if the field gets torn up pretty bad because of the weather conditions on Saturday, you're talking about two complete different games. But I believe Tampa Bay does pull it off. I think so. It's why I just think Detroit is not able to do it coming out of that dome there. So I'm going to go with Tampa Bay as well for that win. So with that being said, as we're running into a little bonus time here, I'd like to thank AJ, who will not be the last time here on Broad Street South Live. So AJ will be back. Brian, I don't know so much. Every week I just think about it. I contemplate whether I want to bring him back, but then I do, AJ. I bring him back because he's a fun guy. Unlike a mushroom, but he's a fun guy.
This is actually AI Ryan. So the real Ryan's like probably somewhere roaming around.
He probably is. Wait, Ryan, you forgot to tell AJ your penthouse.
Oh, yes. This is my palatial penthouse, 1970s paneling. I'm here in Bristol, Pennsylvania. So,
Nice.
I hit the lottery. So this is what I could afford.
Nothing wrong with that. Hey,
Yeah.
you got 4 walls. You got 4 walls and a roof. That's all a man needs.
He went with the Martha Stewart collection. That's why he wanted to bring back the paneling. So
Work in 1975, my friend.
Nothing wrong with that.
that he did. But thanks to AJ once again from the Aftermath. You guys can check him out. And AJ, please let everybody know not only obviously your social media handles, but also where they can catch you live.
Oh, absolutely. You can always catch us live at 102.9, the Game Broad Street South Radio with my co-host, Slick, aka the British guy who's always flying on standby. And then also, if you want to just check my personal account, YouTube channel, it's about Bucking Time. And if you want, you can go to my other page on Instagram, AJ TurnUp. Go to the link, and you can get yourself some good football gear and inspirational things. I have a lot of mottos. One of my favorite mottos is turn up your life and turn up in style.
That's so true. And for Ryan, by the way, the next time, Ryan, so when AJ comes on the next time, you know how you get the little floaties when you're a baby and you put them in? That's what we're going to do to flex on next time on AJ. Every time he puts up his arms, I'm like, wow, okay, thanks. Matter of fact, I'm going to get the basketballs. I'm just going to have here on the side, put it on my arms and just tan them up to make it seem I got the same arms as AJ. But no, listen, AJ, thank you so much. Once again, thanks to the guys that come on the Bucs Report, again, on Sports Radio 102.9 The Game. It's so much fun to hear you guys' content and the great job you guys are doing. Please keep it up because it is absolutely phenomenal. And when you see the dude, tell him I said what's up. That is a phenomenal piece, I will say, to the Bucs Report.
Absolutely. As always, y'all, go Bucks.
See, I knew he was going to bust it out one more time. But thanks again to AJ. Thanks to Ryan, to my lovely producer over on Studio B. Everyone, enjoy the rest of your week. Enjoy the weekend, and we will see you all here next week.
Yes, sir.